Hey, what's happening, folks? I am the Admiral, Tommy Scoville. What's happening? Charlie Murphy, good to see you. Just Joan, how are you? Jason P, my brother, good to see you. Guacaholic, I saw some funny conversations back there. Hello, Kristen, Melinda, Dr. Ducky, good to see you. I live for now. There's something really funny back here. Brazy girl, good to see you. Something about someone was saying back in our day, the musicians dressed like chicks and sang about Satan. The good old 80s, huh? Cooler by the Lake, good to see you. Hey, Kestrel, Layla. Oh, Denise Scooby-Doo. Midwest Kid Doc, good to see you. Glad you're here. Hello, Sherry. True to Connections, Christina, glad you're here. Sandy Wendy, what's happening? 7th. From Elizabeth, Florida, Truta. Well, good to have you from Elizabeth, Florida. Bacon, Bits, Ben Turner. Good to see you. Spicy Cat Foster's here. Yarn Prepper, what's happening? Hello, Debbie P. Marion Calabro, glad you are here. Well, people, we're going to have some fun tonight. I promise you. Starting to feel some kind of way. No, I really do want to have a good time tonight. This is a subject matter that evolves, and I dig that. Lisa Trimble, good to see you. This is one of those things. Harm reduction is not something I believed in. It's not something that I believed in at all. I was a person that believed that you got sober or you didn't waste your time. Anything else was a waste. My love, you know what? I'll just go, hey, how are you? There's no way I'm getting that right. So I'm just going to go, hey, how are you? Welcome to the boat. Irrelevant Panda, good to see you. Crafty Witch, what's happening? Glad you are here. Izzy E. Hello, crew. It's still my birthday for the next hour and a half, and I'm happy to spend those remaining minutes with y'all. Well, you know what? I do this a lot, and every time I do, I swear I'm never going to do it again, but it's always somebody that's just such a huge part of the boat. So we'll do the old happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Izzy. Happy birthday to you for at least another hour and a half. What's up? Really, really glad that you would spend your birthday with us. That is an honor. It really is. It's a big deal to me. No joke. That's a really big deal to me. And I'm glad you're here. My son and I were talking about you earlier. So it's Reese knows how to say it. Well, Reese is pretty damn slick. I've said many times the woman's considerably smarter than I am. I'm not saying that for anybody's benefit. I promise you, I mean it. I really do. She's considerably sharper than me in 99% of the ways. For real. She's pretty sharp, that girl of mine. Mal, like gal. Okay. Malvaki Payne. Okay. Does that sound about right? I hope that's about right. Kim is Blue, good to see you. And Katie Fulton. I'm still concerned I said something that I didn't communicate properly over on Cults and Crims that upset me. That upset me? I have all the love of the world for you and the love you give my dear friend. You think that you said something that upset me or upset Quibs? Yeah, I don't know. I swear to God, and please believe me, I have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I assure you, I mean, do you mean recently? Or did you say something a long time ago or something? I swear to God, Katie Fulton, I have no idea. I love you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. None. I have not. I am, you're one of my favorite people, and I can't think of anything you've ever said that's upset me, even slightly. And I'm telling you the gospel truth. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you said something and I missed it, well, that's good too. I'm not offended. I promise. Yeah, I didn't see it. So if you said something that was offensive, I didn't see it, and we're good. We'll keep going forward. I had no idea. I swear to you. I thought we were doing fantastic. If I'm coming across weird, I did mute myself. If you're talking about the last show, I muted myself through half of it because we were right in the middle of a freaking monsoon. Like, I mean, a good one. When I hopped up, it's because I saw a table go zipping by my window, and that table took out 3 beautiful plants that are in planters that just shattered. The rug was tumbling by. So I went out and I actually pulled the rug inside with me. But no, nothing. No, nothing. And that is the truth. Guacaholic last week on the 7th. Fantastic. We had someone else that was on the 7th. We got a lot of people that were born in July, which means if you go back 9 months before that, all of our parents got busy in that month. See, where I grew up in the Northeast, it's like that song from Too Darn Hot, right? According to the Kinsey report, every average man prefers to play his favorite sport when the temperature is low, but when the thermometer goes way up and the temperature is sizzling hot, Mr. Adams for his madam is not, something like that. But when it got cold, guys, people had more sex, and it was really would always time that everyone I went to school with growing up were all born in July, which is the very cold part of it. 9 months earlier, everybody seemed to get busy that time of the year. Happy birthday, says I live for now. I think that's going to be a popular sentiment. Happy birthday, Izzy. See, there you go. I got it right. There you go. I'm proud now. I don't do well very often with pronunciations. Ask Mach. She's been here forever and I can't get it right. Well, you're welcome, Izzy. And hopefully I can do that again next year, even though I keep swearing I'm never going to do it again. I really need to get to a point where maybe I never do it again. But it's always somebody. Thank you, Roberta. And boy, oh boy, is that stuff. I mean, that stuff it should be regulated. I have a feeling in years from now, they'll be selling it by the gram. It's one of those things that, I can't stop eating it. I bought a box of matzahs and I ate the entire box. No joke. The entire box just got that tea stuff put on top of it. And I went to town. Shannon Smith, good to see you. Shy Bear, how are you? Crafty Witch, I'm not sure if I said hello, but hello. Brandon Calloway, there you are. What's happening, my brother? Good to see you, man. Proud of you. Proud he is. You were worried you upset me tonight's show? I said nothing. I said directed at you. No. Yeah, absolutely nothing. Katie Fulton, not a damn thing. I'm telling you the truth. I'm one of those I'm an open person. If you bum me out, you'll know. I don't usually pull punches. I do have the friendliest audience in the world. I'm super proud of my audience. Super, super proud of the audience. I really am. But I saw an interview a long time ago. Yes, see, Zaffo gets it. While I'm a big fan and supporter of harm reduction, it's not the secret to life. The secret to life and the universe and everything is, of course, 42. And I really can't argue that. It's even if I wanted to argue it, there was a very sharp supercomputer that actually spit that out. However, the meaning of life was also researched by some people who came up with a couple of really, really solid points. One of which was men aren't wearing enough hats. And as you can see, I'm doing my part, and that was a homage to my friends who really like the Monty Python stuff, because I do. I'm a fan of Monty Python, really, really a fan of Monty Python. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, we're going to let it slide because I do roll call so damn long these days that we haven't really gotten to the meat and biscuits yet anyway. But we're going to be getting there fairly shortly. Hope. Couldn't bring your old account with me? Well, it happens. Not sure. This is Hope Between the Dreams. Well, there you go. Glad that you're here. Mile High Hokey, what's up? All right, I think we can probably get this boat underway. We can pull this boat out of the station. Mixed metaphors, whatever. All right, here's the deal. So when I started out, I was firmly entrenched in the belief that if you didn't quit cold turkey, and by the way, I mean everything, right? Everything. That you're just not getting, you're not recovering. That's not recovery. That's BS, right? That's you just playing games. This is you trying to talk yourself into. And the really funny thing is, none of those thoughts were mine. They weren't. See, I had never actually sat down to have a legitimate thought of any kind about this. This was a subject I didn't feel like I needed to think about, right? And the reason is rote learning. You know how many friggin' group therapy sessions I had been in? You know how many 12-step program sessions I had been in? You know how many court-ordered groups I had to do in prison and everywhere else? Well, they kind of beat this stuff into you, do they not? Huh? For real. They tell you that if you're not sober off of everything, well, then you're a BSer. And basically, they have elevated the shame game to a friggin' art form, because it's not just that you have to feel bad about yourself, but there is an entire group of people in the room who are also going to make you feel crappy about yourself. In fact, they teach it, right? If you come to the door with a buzz, God forgive, they're never going to let you in the door at all. Here's the thing. Let me blow this up because I don't see very well these days. I started using Fent test strips on the stuff that's supposed to have Fent in my city. And I swear most of it didn't even have Fent in it. Crazy. Everything got Fent in it except the Fent. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal. The word fentanyl these days, and Fent and Fenty and all of the other things that people call this stuff, is now a term like Kleenex, right? This thing right here, we have no idea who made it, but it's a Kleenex. We're going to call it a Kleenex. If you make a copy on a copier and that copier is made by Rico or made by anybody, it's still called a Xerox copy, right? Okay, well, Fent now covers an entire family of bathtub opioids. And the most popular one that's really coming on now isn't Fent. It's a much cheaper drug that's actually stronger. These are nitazines, right? Nitazines or phytonitazines or isonitazines. People pronounce them differently, but anyway, you shake it, nits. A lot of people on the street are calling it phyto, like you would say for a dog. Trouble is, it looks like, acts like, smokes like. Everybody thinks it's Fent. Trouble is, it's not. And it's a hell of a lot stronger than Fent. And one of the other problems is Fent test strips aren't going to show you that there's anything deadly in this, but it's more deadly than fentanyl. You can see where this is dangerous. And I started screaming about it a long time ago. You can go back and watch us talking about nits on the boat when it was still my partner, Mark Wages, was here. And that's been a year and a half, right? Probably. Maybe more than that. We first started talking about nits at least 2 years ago. And back then, there had only been one or two busts, and I think they were all in Utah. And now it is everywhere. But I'll tell you something else. Not only are those test strips not going to pick it up, neither is the 32-panel drug screens that they use aren't going to pick this up. This is a very unusual substance. Normally, hey, what's happening, Noise Opera? Good to see you. Your body takes all of these weird opiates that are not actually related to the morphine molecule, and they have to convert it into morphine in order for your body to process it out. That makes sense, right? So if you were doing smack, H, horse, whatever you want to call it, if you were doing that stuff, for 6 hours, you can test for what's called monoacetylmorphine. 6 MAM is what they write on the 32-panel test. For 6 hours, they can tell that that's actually what you did was smack. After 6 hours, you're just going to test positive for an opioid of some kind, because it's going to take every one of those things and turn it back into morphine so that you can process it out your body. Hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But so the harm reduction model is something that they certainly didn't teach us in any one of these rooms. In those rooms, it was abstinence or you're a loser. It was abstinence or you're not trying, right? You're weak. All of the stuff that now we think about and go, oh my God, right? Especially here on the boat. You would never tell somebody they're weak. They've got a disease. It's a legit disease. Doesn't mean you don't get a pass to go do all the things that you want to do wrong. I went to prison over the stuff I did, right? You still have to pay the piper for the things that you do wrong. Believe that, right? That's the way it works. But it is a disease, a legit one. Now, once you start to accept those things, things start to make a lot more sense. For instance, any disease out there, right? Let's talk about diabetes. Well, we can't cure it. You're going to live with it your whole life. Sound familiar? right? Can't cure addiction. You're going to live with it your whole life. So if there's some way out there to treat your addiction the same way somebody would treat, say, diabetes, hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic, and you could take a shot, or you could take a pill, or you could take something so that you can live with a good quality of life with your disease. Well, guess what? Almost every disease is like that, right? We do that with everything. You got lupus. Well, we got some stuff we can give you for lupus if it's going to make it better. You've got cancer. If we can't cure it, there's certainly stuff that we can give you that is going to make your quality of life better while you're on it. And there are some things that we can do to try to cure this or treat this or whatever the case may be. Yeah? Makes sense? Are you catching this? All right. So what if we've been wrong for all this time about the abstinence model? Now, don't get me wrong, people. I want all of you to quit. I want you to quit forever. I want you to never use anything, right? But I don't want you to run out the door screaming right now at that as an idea, because for some of us, that is a really difficult thing to hear. Midwest Kid Doc says, seeing this stuff coming through our small town ERs, there's a lack of education about this in our medical literature. It was the Lifeboat and 60 Minutes Australia that sent me learning more about it. Thank you. You know what? Man, does that that makes it that really makes me feel good. I can't begin to tell you how much that makes me feel good, because we do need to talk about this stuff. We really, really do. Now, if the people that we know can't quit cold turkey, we can't let them run wild with the drug supply that is out there today. There are people on the boat, a lot of you on the boat, remember very closely we lost somebody very near and dear to the boat. We've lost a lot of people, but the last one that we lost, we lost to an overdose of this poison. And he knew he was out using. He knew that, he didn't lie to us. We knew he was using. He was practicing the harm reduction model. Sadly, he was really trying to do everything he could, and the medical community didn't help him. Honest to God, the medical community failed and killed my friend, our friend. They did. He went to a methadone clinic, and they were taking him up 2 milligrams every 3 days. If you've ever been to a methadone clinic, I used to go in and get 40 milligrams as your first dose. They would wait 10 minutes to make sure you were okay, and then they would take you to 80. That was day one. When you went in day two, they brought you up to 100. Day three, you would go to 120 or 130, and they would keep taking you up like this. This poor gentleman had been going for 6 or 7 months, and they hadn't gotten him over 85 milligrams. And that's not enough. He wasn't there because he was just he was there for pain management. He couldn't get into a pain management clinic. It's tragic. It's tragic. If the medical community, if everybody in the world could get on board for the idea that, you know what, maybe we treat this like a freaking disease and we don't make these people run and hide. Because if you treat people like a leper, they're going to run and hide from you. And this is in everything, by the way. Richard Simmons died today, right? And you can make 150 really funny jokes about Richard Simmons. You really can. And the reason you could is because he was flamboyant as hell. He was over the top. He was one of the great performers of all time, if you ask me. But people may not remember this, but there was a really great period of time when this guy was super popular, where it was okay for somebody 150 pounds overweight to start working out in a gym. If you've ever been to a gym and you're not a person who already has abs and you look ripped, you walk into a gym and it's one of the most, it feels like being in elementary school again, or in high school, where some people were great and they're, huge and looking down at you. It's a horrible feeling. Richard Simmons really was a national treasure. John Van Geest, he really was. But what he did was brought so many people who said, I'm not going to walk outside because I'm ashamed of how I look. He made people feel good about who they were and didn't say, you're perfect exactly how you are. That wasn't his approach. But his approach was, you're a beautiful person, but you need to move for about 30 minutes a day. You need to move for about 30 minutes a day. It wasn't a rowdy concept, but he got people to get up and he got people to feel good about themselves. And what he did for the lives of so many people. And I'll tell you something, you can laugh, but I say this all the time. When the student is ready, then the teacher appears. And what happened was we had hit a place where people who were overweight had been so shamed in society that they needed a Richard Simmons. They really did. I think we're there again. I think we're really messed up with body image right now, like we haven't been in a long time. And it's because we haven't had somebody like Richard Simmons in a long time. What he did was truthfully amazing stuff. Truthfully amazing stuff. I'm going to miss the man. But he preached harm reduction before anybody was preaching harm reduction. He wasn't telling people you need to get down to a size 4. He was saying you got to get up and move, right? Just get up and move because you're going to start feeling better about who you are. So spend 30 minutes a day getting up and moving. And if that means taking 30 damn steps, right, in that entire time, well, then get up and do it. And he had a beautiful way of making people feel fantastic about themselves as he delivered that message. Really funny concept. You know what he was doing? He was connecting. For real. It didn't matter whether the audience had 400 people in it or they had 2,000 people in it. He got down off the stage and he walked around and he looked at people and he had a knack for seeing people that were literally hurting. And he had a way of picking someone that really was a perfect example so that the conversation he had with that person, he was having with 400 other people in the room. And then as he started to take it to this new medium, the VHS, right? The video home, recording system, so that people could take Richard Simmons and bring him into their house. And now these stories started to touch the lives of tens of thousands of people. It's a very, very cool story, honestly. It really is. And I think he's going to be missed. But he was preaching harm reduction before anybody was. I don't think anybody needs to get down to a size 4 unless that's your goal in life. And if it is, I don't know why, but do what I tell you to do. Write down your goal and then write down why you want to get to that goal. Maybe there's a fantastic reason. I needed to lose a crap load of weight because of what it was doing to my heart. And I'll tell you something. My flutter is as bad as it's been. And I'm not mean I need to go to the hospital. It just flutters every day. It's just one of those things. I have atrial flutter. You will notice it once you know what's up. It'll just go, and you'll go, what the hell is that? But it goes back down. What's bad is when it doesn't go back down. But I have put weight on. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I had gotten to a very, very low weight, and I was super healthy with my heart, but I was having some other problems. And I'm trying to find the happy medium. I really am trying to find the happy medium. I think it's a little lighter than I am now, but your flutter is back too. For me, Shannon, when I'm at my target weight, my flutter is there, but it is super, super, it's not often. I mean, it doesn't happen often and it's really minor, but when I get a little bit heavier, it's a completely different thing. Linsanity, good to see you. Glad you're here. Tamber June, how are you? So the harm reduction model, as we apply it to anything, and I think this is important because you can apply it to anything. And you know, one of the most important things in the world, for real? Do you know what drives us back to almost all of our bad behaviors? And I don't care if you're on drugs or not. This is all of us, right? If you overeat, if you're somebody that compulsively does anything, if you gamble, anytime you're trying to feel comfortable in your own skin and you don't, I don't care what you do. We're all in the same boat. It's that when you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, you're going to crush a cake. This individual is going to snort some blow. This person's going to drink. That person's going to whatever. We're all in the same boat. We all get to a point where we start feeling really something's just not right. And you know what? I can make myself feel better. I can just put down 2,000 calories and that will do it. Or I can doesn't matter. It truthfully doesn't matter. I relate really easy to opiates because I was addicted to them for a really, really, really long time. And I tried everything else along the way to make me feel comfortable in my own skin. And by everything, I mean everything. All the other drugs, right? Anything that you could do, being super promiscuous, being a criminal, stealing stuff. I hopped from one persona to another, trying to find the place where I could be happy in my own skin without without having to buy it by the gram. And amazingly, I found that by trying to tell other people that they don't have to live the life that I was living. Crazy as hell. And so true, because as I got away from the boat, when I'm not doing this, I'm going backwards. If I'm not doing this, if I'm not engaging with people, if I'm not talking about the problems the mistakes I made in the past, and if I'm not trying to help people going forward, I'm not doing well. So for me, the boat is harm reduction as well. It really is. It saves me a lot of money on therapy. And in the process, we do end up helping a lot of people. And I'm not saying, listen to what I say. What I'm saying is there's a lot of people who show up here that have a wealth of knowledge that has been built over, now literally hundreds and thousands of years. Add up all of the combined experience here. There's a lot of people that have survived a lot of trauma brought on by a lot of different substances and a lot of different habits and a lot of different compulsions. Capiche? And what drives us back to the cheeseburger or the straw or the needle or the bottle? Guilt. I would put number one down on the list is guilt. You start feeling crappy about the person you used to be, and the only way to make that go away is to go back to the habit that you're trying to quit in the first place, right? It's that hamster on a wheel kind of thing, and you can keep it going for 3 decades. I did. But how do you eliminate the guilt? How do you get the guilt out? How do you knock that first one off? Because I promise you, that's the big one. The harm reduction model is beautiful for this. The harm reduction model is beautiful for this. Let's say you're smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day or 2 packs of cigarettes a day. If you begin to journal and you say, you know what, I got to stop smoking cigarettes. I'm going to kill myself. Anyone who's smoking 2 packs a day, you're not doing anything good for your lungs. I think you know this. Now, if you journal and you were to say, I'm going to take 2 years to quit, that would be a lot better if you could quit in 4 hours. Okay? Way better. I promise. Way better. But what if you said, I'm going to take a year to quit? So I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm going to knock out 1 cigarette a week. So instead of smoking 40 cigarettes a day, I'm going to get down to 39, or I'm going to drop 1 every 3 days. You understand the smallest of baby steps moving you towards your goal will realign your dome piece. Because when you go and write down at the end of the day and you journal, you literally have moved the ball toward the goal line. That process of moving the ball toward the goal line will eliminate all of the guilt. You try cold turkey, you make it 6 hours, right? Then you smoke. You're so pissed off at yourself. You're so angry. You're literally going to end up doing more of the habit. You're literally going to take it to it. We all do this. You try quitting cigarettes, you try quitting booze, and you can't make it. So when you relapse, when you go back and start drinking, you end up drinking more than you would have. It's really a disgusting concept, but we all do it. So if you just take your habit and back off harm reduction model, just take it down a notch consistently, then every night when you write in that journal and every morning when you write in that journal, you have achieved the goal to move the ball forward. Right? You have hit your target. That eliminates guilt. It starts a process that is fascinating to the drug addict. Incremental success. People in recovery, this has happened to me so many times I can't explain it. I will go cold turkey. I'll get sober. I'll get my shit together. I will really start doing well. I'll start putting business connections together, whatever it is I'm doing. And all of a sudden I get that feeling of, oh my God, I'm successful. I don't know how to be successful. I don't know how to be successful. That feeling of people patting you on the back and going, hey, you're doing a great job is so uncomfortable to me, because my default setting for all of those years was I just spent all of my money on dope. I'm lying to everybody I know. No matter how much cash I got, I don't have any in the bank. That has been my default setting my whole life. What that means is it's literally the only way your brain's comfortable. So when you got $1,000 in the bank, $50 in your pocket, and you haven't lied to anyone in 3 years, your hand starts doing this number. It's an insane thing. It really is. But the fact of the matter is the brain isn't working for the addict. It's working against the addict. So you have to do things like the external hard drive of journaling. But if you start to adopt the concept of harm reduction, right? If you start to do this and you start backing off a little bit and you consistently hit those goals, you will begin to learn what it is to be successful in small incremental amounts. John Van Gee says, for me, it was ego. If I ever felt like I was completely on top of stuff, that was when it would all go to shit. You know what? That may be the same thing in a different package. We may be saying the same thing, right? Maybe it's like the coyote who runs off at the edge in the cartoon, right? He's cool until he looks down and realizes he's run off the cliff, at which point he falls to the ground. It's kind of the same thing. If you feel like you're like when you're out of that pink cloud stage where you're like, I got this. Very often people will say the same thing. For me, I think it's a little different because I don't ever really feel like I ever thought I got this. I don't ever feel like that happened until this time, until I met Q, until I went through all of the things that I've done to get sober, right? Instead of just going, all right, I'm going to do this, right? That didn't work. It never worked. This time is a little bit different. But for me, I would always, it was when I started to see the fruits of my labor. I can't deal with that. I don't understand how to work that way. My brain can't comprehend. Although this time I seem to have, this is a very different, what I'm doing now. I'm not trying to be sober. Honestly, I'm not, right? I take cannabis to go to sleep. I take buprenorphine to prevent myself from going into, back to opioids. I'm on medical assisted treatment, people. I'm not, I don't preach cold turkey anything. I don't. I used to. But now I've seen what happens. Now I've watched what medical assisted treatment has done for, hundreds and hundreds of people. Hell, the boat personally, the number of people that we've put on medical assisted treatment is astounding. And our success rate's been remarkable. That stuff really changes lives. Why? Because it eliminates the need to go get dope. And if you're not an addict, then maybe that doesn't mean anything to you. But going to get dope is half of your life. The other half is getting the money to go get dope. If you can eliminate those two things by making all of your dope into one monthly payment that is really, really small and a drug that no longer gets you high, but takes away the desire to do the drug, well, hell, that's a bonus, right? And it really does change lives. I have watched people who are taking naltrexone for what's the new euphemism? Alcohol abuse disorder. That's changing lives, right? There's a lot of different people doing a lot of different stuff to help with harm reduction. There's really promising research coming out with psilocybin. There you go. I'm sorry, that's a drug we used to party on, right? Shrooms. What they're doing with them now is absolutely unbelievable. And it really is helping people who's had some really serious problems with mental illness realign their brains. And you know what? If something helps realign the brain, you really got to hope that we're doing everything we can to research that as much as we possibly can, because we don't get a lot of victories in this game. Crazy Girl says, comment, having more than one addiction, quitting one, but then increasing the other. What gives? Asking for a friend. You know what? This makes perfect sense. This is the snapshot of the addicted mind, right? Let's say you're doing, 4 or 5 different drugs, whatever the case may be. If you remove one of them, right, your brain is instantly going to compensate, right? I've done this my entire life, quitting one drug and then going to another. Like if I quit cold turkey doing everything, I would pick up drinking. And I was never an alcoholic. That was not something that I seemed to be able to, I could abuse the hell out of it. Make no mistake, I could drink way too much for long, but when I put it down, I put it down. I can't do that with other drugs. I certainly cannot do it with opioids, right? I cannot. But, by full disclosure, I abused a lot of blow. I abused a lot of meth. Every pill you could think of. I really was a pill guy for a really long time. It's the reason that you're going to your brain doesn't want you to come off of anything, Brazy. Your brain doesn't want you to quit anything. So if you back off one of your substances, the first thing your brain is going to do is go, okay, well, we had a good cocktail going. If you took 3 of those benzos and you took 2 of those painkillers and you took 1 of these, that together was great. So if you're telling me we're not taking this anymore, well, then you're going to have to start giving me more of that, right? Because we still want that level there. This is dangerous because sometimes more of that can create a more dangerous effect, the synergy. When you start mixing these things, it can be dangerous. But that's what's happening. Your brain likes being at a 4. You were using 3 different substances to get to a 4. If you eliminate one of those substances, your brain's going, get me back to a 4, woman, right? Give me more of whatever you got to give me, but get me back to a 4. It's the reason, Brazy, that it's so important to have conversations and not suffer in silence when you're going through stuff like this. It's so important to talk to your therapist. It's so important to journal, because the fact that you see this, the fact that you're communicating this, means you can beat that. People that don't seem to notice that, or don't realize that that pull is there. Lynn Sanity says, I'm so thankful for this boat. My landlord was talking to me about the changes she's noticed in the past year, all positive. It was this boat and journaling. Oh, wow. What a cool thing to say. Lynn, we love you. We really do. Yes. Sweet Tea, I believe I have a picture of me in the Cat Father shirt. It is a great shirt. I will post a picture over in the, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I did a video where I talked about it too, and I wore it in the video. But thank you so much, Sweet Tea. I will post a picture. It's a very cool, it's a very, very cool shirt. So wait a second, where were we at? Oh yeah, the harm reduction model, people. What it does is it keeps you moving forward. Do you understand? It keeps you moving forward. If you can continue to make progress and score victories along the way, right? What did we say when day one we started this boat? This was a place where you were going to own the things that you did when you were on drugs. You're not going to put it off even on the drug, right? You're going to say, I did this. This is what I did. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Granted, I was under the influence, but I did those things. And it was a place where we were going to celebrate our victories, no matter how small they are. Because in our world, 24 hours without drugs is a victory, and it's a big one. It really is. Little victories add up to the finish line. The reason I say you got to make your bed in the morning, the reason I say you got to journal when you get up in the morning, those are the first 2 things, because what just happened? There are only 3 things that you can do when you get up in the morning. You can make your bed, brush your teeth, you can journal. If you do all 3 of those things, you said, there you go. First 3 goals of the day, knocked off, successful. You will get good at that. You will get good at being successful. And if you're writing in that journal and you say, you know what? I didn't smoke 40 cigarettes today. I smoked 32. I'm down from 2 packs a day. You're moving the friggin' ball forward. And those successes, those little successes every day start to add up, and you start to crave more of them, because our brain is nothing if not trainable. But we don't try to train it. They don't teach you this. You hear the cliches. 14 days, do anything for 14 days. It's a habit. Actually, science now is saying about 26, I think, 28, something like that. We did a show on it once. But it's less than a month. But can you do something that you don't like doing, that doesn't feel comfortable, and do it every day for a month? If the answer to that question is no, maybe this isn't the spot for you. We're kind of a self-help group. Doesn't matter what's ailing you. But I promise you, if you start to change your habits within 30 days, those habits will literally become habitual. Those things that you're doing that seem so uncomfortable will become habitual. And you will get to a point where the thought of not journaling will make you really uncomfortable. The thought of not getting out what's in your head onto paper will freak you out a little bit. If Quibs were here, she could tell you, having now lived with me for months, that I'll lose my, you know what? If I get to a point where I need to write something down and I really need, like if I can't go and I can't journal, I'll lose it. I will look like there's something wrong with me. I'll look like a guy that's about to freak out. It is such a coping mechanism for me. I can't explain it. I have to stop my opioid pain meds because they have reduced dosage to such an extent that pain is intolerable most of the time. And I remember when I tried my friend's Suboxone, it alleviated pain better than Oxy. If that is a fact, then you have no idea how much better your life will be. For real. If you, I'm not trying to dox you in any way. If you send me an email to my name, TommyScoville@gmail.com, in that email, tell me what state you live in. If you're in the US, tell me what state you live in, and I can tell you all the information you need to know about how you can start that process. And the reason I say this is Suboxone is hit or miss. For some people, for everybody, by the way, it's a fantastic way to get off of opiates. I mean, for everybody, it's a fantastic way to get off opiates. But it's hit or miss as a painkiller. For some people, it knocks pain out like that. And for some people, it doesn't seem to have as good an effect as a lot of other pain medications. I think a lot of it has to do with what you abused. I don't know, like I did so much smack that when I started taking Suboxone, I mean, maybe it stops pain. I don't feel anything off of a strip except I get none of that. It takes away, because if you understand what it does, it paints the receptor. The receptor thinks it's been, it's got opioids all over it, right? It's a very fascinating process, honestly. The agonist antagonist. If you read up on how it works, it's fascinating. But for me, I don't feel any effect from it other than it changes my life. But for a lot of people, it is a miracle painkiller. And if it is for you, then your life can change so easily. It is a very, very effective, it's a great way to get off of oxys and things of that nature. That would be fantastic for you. It is a much safer drug for you. Guacaholic says, I'm having a hell of a time not going off the rails in my addiction, but I know it won't fix anything and it will only make everything worse. Drugs won't fix the trauma I just went through or fill the void. Guac, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm really not. But whenever anybody says anything like this, my question is always, there's a hit list of things that you should be doing to make sure that you don't go off the rails. We all have little canaries in the coal mine. You know what I mean by that? There's always, everybody has something that will tell you you're going off the rails, right? If I'm not cleaning the cat's kitty litter, I'm in bad shape, right? If I'm not making my bed in the morning, I'm not in good shape. If I'm not doing the things that I know fundamentally keep me sober, if I'm not writing in my journal twice a day, at a minimum, I write more than that, but at a minimum, if I'm not writing in my journal twice a day, I'm not doing what it takes to keep this boat on the tracks, to keep mixing up the old metaphors. You feel me? If I'm not doing any of those things, well, then I'm in deep doo-doo. But after almost a decade now of trying to stay off of smack, I've come to realize that I got to do, there's the squirrel, that I got to do the list of things that I have to do if I want to keep this life going. I'm really fond of where I'm at right now. I'm really fond of where I'm at in my YouTube career. I'm fond of my partner. She's just an incredibly, she's an inspirational human being. She's funny as all get out. She's a breath of fresh air in a world that has gotten very, very uptight and very, very politically correct and very, very, I don't know what else. She just reminds me of what it felt like a long time ago when we all got along and we could all pick on one another. If you guys could hear me and her when no one's around, I bet all of you would get a little concerned. But there are not two people. I mean, because we pick on each other. We have a pretty good time with it. And I don't mean stupid stuff like physical characteristics and stupid things, but we nag at each other like people used to when you could crack jokes. She's an amazing human being that keeps me laughing, and it's funny. Royal Tenenbaums is one of my favorite films, but there's a part in it where Royal said, I just had more fun than I've ever had. And the narrator says, as Royal said this, he realized it was the truth. And I find myself very often saying something and then thinking, right after I said that, I realized it was the truth. I'm a lot happier when she's nearby. I really am. I'm way happier when she's nearby. But This garlic hummus for the win. This harm reduction model can apply to virtually anything in your life. You hear me? For real. Quib's a perfect example. I assume most of you watched the show we just did, and I talked a lot about self-esteem, and I talked a lot about her accepting the compliments of people because she's an inspiration to many now. Hey, Kim Roy, especially because of what she's going through and the fact that she's coming out and talking about this stuff. She is an inspiration to a lot of people, and I am trying to talk her into a little bit of self-esteem. I don't think that's a bad thing. I really don't. I will apologize for it, but she doesn't have to achieve that overnight. She doesn't. If she can just get to a point where she says to people who say, you know what, you're so courageous, if she just says, you know what, I really appreciate that. It's a very kind thing to say. How many times have you heard me say that exact phrase? You know why? Because I'm not any better at it than the people that I'm preaching to, but I'm going to get good at it. I realized early on in the boat that when people said that and I scoffed and went, I'm stealing their compliment. I'm stealing the joy out of what this person is trying to say to me. And you know what? I sit in front of a camera, which may be silly, right? But to some people, it takes a little bit of guts to even type something like that out, right? So if I downplay it, I'm not playing the game right. So all I'm saying is harm reduction. I got to a point where I could say to people, you know what? That's a really, really nice thing to say. I really appreciate that. And it makes the people that say it feel good, which is good because that's how I want them to feel. They were very nice to me. Thank you so much. CBC, I really appreciate you. But do you understand what I'm saying? The smallest little increments, and do you know what will happen? Pretty soon you start to get some self-esteem. Pretty soon, a little self-esteem starts sneaking its way into your life. And that's a beautiful damn thing. That's a beautiful damn thing. I promise it is. And I'm not a guy that preaches, self-esteem. Everybody should think they're perfect. No, you shouldn't. But if you're moving in the right damn direction, right? This is why journaling is important, people. What's the right direction, Tommy? I don't know. Have you ever written down your goals? Have you ever said where you want to be in a year? Huh? No, never. No, never wrote down where I want to be 12 months from now. Well, then I can't really help you. But if you start journaling, you're going to know what forward progress is because you're going to write down what your goals are. I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. This is bad for me. Okay, so what are you willing to do to make that no longer a thing in your life, right? That's what you write down. I want to quit smoking. Why do you want to quit smoking? Well, because I'm going to be a lot healthier. I don't want my kids seeing me do this. It's an embarrassment, right? It should be a long list. What are you willing to do to get there? Well, you could say, I'm willing to throw those cigarettes in the trash and I'm willing to endure what the next 2 to 3 weeks is going to be because it's going to be pretty ugly. A lot of first 72 hours for sure. There'll be even some physical cramping and stuff that's really uncomfortable, but it's going to suck for about 3 weeks. So maybe nag, okay, then don't. But you're smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Let's take 1 cigarette a week off, and in 20 weeks you'd be done. That's harm reduction. But every single week that you take 1 cigarette down, you're going to start feeling better about yourself. You stick to that. And it's little victories. And you write how the victory makes you feel. Hey, I did it. I did it. Right? I love it. My dad raised me fiercely with self-esteem and to be willing to fight to keep it. I've had to fight to keep it, but I refuse to give it up. Everybody paying attention? Huh? What's the difference between CBC and Quibs? My dad raised me fiercely with self-esteem. God bless your dad. Quib says everybody in the world feels this way. Wrong. There are a lot of people in the world who were raised with parents who did instill self-esteem. God bless them. God bless them. But if they didn't, well, then we need to work on it ourselves. And you can start by eliminating some guilt in your life because guilt is a thief of self-esteem. And how do you eliminate guilt? Well, harm reduction is a beautiful model. Harm reduction is a beautiful model. Tommy, you don't understand. I'm 300 pounds overweight. Well, then move for 30 minutes a day. Get up and move for 30 minutes a day. You will not believe how much better you start feeling about yourself. Go out and walk every single day. Say, Tommy, I can't walk for 30 minutes. Okay. What can you walk for? This is harm reduction. Can't walk for 30 minutes a day. What can you walk for? 5? Okay. Do it. And in a couple of weeks, push it to 6. Question, Tommy, what was it that made you accept the harm reduction theory instead of abstinence? Was there one thing or over a lot of time? I'm a huge proponent of harm reduction and why I love it here. Okay. This is a great question. I'm glad that you asked it. I got really tired of burying people that I cared about. That was a big one. I got really tired of if you preach abstinence from every substance, then when a guy comes to you and says, I'm not doing opiates anymore, and you go, oh, thank the Lord. I'm smoking about 1.5 ounces of pot a week, and I'm probably drinking 4 beers a night. I'm going to tell this dude that he's screwing up. He was doing 5 grams of heroin a day. I'm going to tell him he's screwing up, smoking the weed and drinking. That's not a good model, man. That's not a good model. Now, I want an open dialogue with this person until they have completed their recovery journey, whatever form that takes. So the conversations we have, I say things like, you know what? I'm a little concerned about the booze. Not so much about the weed. I'm really not. But I'm a little concerned about the booze. And the reason is it's a depressant, right? You drink the perfect amount, and what happens? You literally start doing the head nod. Well, that's the same thing that happens to an opiate addict, right? And we have those conversations. Very often, I can get the person to start backing off. You follow? I can get the person to feel like maybe I can just start to taper down a little bit on the booze. Maybe Tommy's right. And then at some point, we can have a conversation where I say, you know what might be better? Maybe if you weren't smoking the stuff, because it's 2024. If we're lighting something on fire and breathing it into our lungs in 2024, we're way too smart to be doing that in 2024. Capiche? You could be vaping it if you feel the need that you've got to breathe something into your lungs. And by the way, I do. You could be vaping it. It does not come off at 105 degrees. If you're going to vape, right? There are vapes that you can get that are called food grade. They don't use, like if you have a blueberry, it's actually made with blueberry. If you taste something that they actually use the stuff and it's way better for you, you can do some research on it. Does it make it healthy? Hell no. But if you're vaping, maybe try to harm reduce. And because of how I get the vape juice I get them to fill the stuff to whatever level of nicotine I want. So I can keep getting it down. What I'm vaping now literally almost has nothing in it. And one of you said, man, I saw you hitting a jewel. I got news for you. This is what I'm hitting. Now, I do hit it in one of these because these are the most convenient things in the world to have around. So I just take those tops off, right? And then you take a little thing and fill it. And with these, it's a whole hell of a lot cheaper and I can regulate the nicotine, which I couldn't do in a jewel. Jewel only goes down to a certain amount and then you're done. San Francisco has a harm reduction program that helps people who are addicted to alcohol. You know what? I got really tired of hearing people bust the you-know-whats of people on the boat because they smoked pot or because they took gummies or because they did any of these things. And then I realized that I was trying to get over these nightmares and I had tried every pill in the world that a doctor could write a prescription for to try to beat these nightmares. And I had people on the boat that said to me, have you ever tried gummies? And I realized that the only reason I wasn't trying gummies, which might have been the answer to prayer, but the only reason I wasn't trying gummies was because of how much crap I was going to take from people on the boat if I did. And then I got an even worse thought. You know what? I could just take it and not tell anybody. And let me tell you where that thought will end up putting me, right? Probably Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, Victorville, California, Florence, Colorado, right? More than likely, that's where I'm going to end up if I start going down that road and having that thought process. It's a very, very dangerous. It's a very dangerous and a slippery slope. Izzy says, lacking in the dad and self-esteem department, I've learned this along the way. I have to love myself more than they hurt me. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Wow. Carry On says, I attended one meeting of Smart Recovery. One woman stepped up and shared her harm reduction story. She was shot down with, this is an abstinence group. I was furious. I never went back. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I got news for you. If you're drinking a fifth of bourbon a day and you're on the boat and you come to me in a couple of weeks and say, you know what, Tommy, I'm drinking a six pack of beer a day, you done good. Right? That is way less harm. Making sense, people? That's way less harm. Does that mean we want the person to drink forever? No, we don't. We really don't. We'd like them to keep coming back, keep hanging out with us, keep listening to everything we say. And as long as we continue to back off a little bit, as long as we continue to set goals that are reducing the harm in our life, we will continue to feel better about ourselves. The more we continue to feel better about ourselves, this really cool thing starts happening. It's the harm reduction model. You have to train yourself to feel like a winner. How do you do that? Little victories, baby steps. Thank you, Dr. Ducky. Baby steps. Continue to move forward. Nothing will make you feel. Lucinda, thank you for your for the gift. And I want you to know something. You know what I did as soon as that you sent that? I took a screenshot and I sent it to Jack. I swear to you, he saw that within probably 40 seconds of you leaving it. And it touched him. It really did. It touched his heart. He asked me to thank you. And I said, you know what? I'm going to let him thank you himself. I'm going to get him on the show. I'm hoping this week. Things are tough. Scheduling is a little tough with him because he's just moving forward right now too. He's taking baby steps as well. They're moving forward. Harm reduction. You can do it in every single way in life. I promise you can. Sometimes finding the meetings that resonate the most with you takes some time and a lot of different meetings, but you'll find the one you belong at. They're out there. I agree with you. However, just be careful because it's for me anyway, it's a minefield. If I go into the wrong meeting and 25 people in there have bags in their pocket and they don't want to be there, I've blown two families apart that way. I've literally destroyed two families, mine, by going to the wrong meeting and getting high in the parking lot. Happened to me twice. Once with about 4 years of sobriety and once with, 26 months or something like that. Proud of everyone here, every single one. If you're here, you've already chosen connection. Thank you. Because the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is that connection. For real. You want harm reduction? The biggest harm we suffer as addicts is we excommunicate from everyone in our lives, right? We disconnect voluntarily without any assistance. We disconnect from anybody that isn't a user, a head, an alcoholic, a junkie, whatever you want to think of. I never was with anybody that didn't use because I didn't want to be around people that were going to judge me. I didn't want to be around people that were going to look at my track marks and think I was a disgusting human being. Yeah. Lisa, I think of you every time I put them on, for real. Yeah, I've been offered drugs at NA meetings before, but thankfully I didn't give in to them. Guacaholic, I'm proud of you. I think these days I'm a lot stronger than I used to be when I went to those meetings. But I'll be really honest, people. The reason the lifeboat is here is because when I got out of prison and I came home and they said, you're going to go to meetings, I went, no, I'm not. You can take me back to prison. I said, I'd rather be in prison than dead. So you can take me back. And honestly, I said, I'll start my own meetings. And this really had a lot to do with it, right? But, and they assumed that it wouldn't last. And I guarantee you they assumed that once I got my paper killed that I would stop doing this. But this is therapy for me, not just because I talk about myself and not just because it's like a video journal or any of that stuff, but more importantly, my drug of choice is hearing somebody say, you know what, if it wasn't for the lifeboat, I'd still be using. I swear to you, that's just my drug of choice. Hi, Tommy. I'm so happy to catch you live. It's Julie. Thank you for your wise words and taking the time to send me advice. Well, you're very welcome, Julie. You are very welcome. I appreciate that. I want to tell you something. Yeah, they did underestimate me, Kristen Melinda. I may have underestimated myself at the time, truthfully. I asked for some ones for Liz Ferris at the beginning of this chat and got nada. I don't know that I heard that. No, I did, CAG. I didn't see that, or I assure you that I would have asked for prayers for Liz Ferris. Liz reached out to me a couple of days ago, and I said, I will pray for you, and I will bring a mountain of people along to pray for you as well. And she said, I don't want anyone knowing yet. That's what she told me. Or I would have said this 2 days ago. I care deeply for Liz Ferris. I really do. And when she sent me the text, I said, hey, I will bring an army of prayers right now. And I don't, the reason for that is her business. But I think maybe she didn't know the severity of it at the time, but I certainly would encourage everybody to keep Liz and her family. You know, this can't be easy for them as well. And for Julie as well. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I love that, Rick. It's sometimes you don't need to know somebody. You know what I mean? It's just to know that someone is struggling. That's one of the beautiful things about the boat. And I'll tell you, I have jumped off the boat to go see if Liz was all right on more than one occasions. I care deeply for Liz. I really do. And had I seen that, I would have put it up, and I would have said it a few days ago. But yeah, I'm fond of her. What do you say? Why are you standing up? Huh? Uh-oh. The diva. Come on, lay down. I'm getting ready to show off the cat in the basket, and she stands up. It's a bummer. How do you know when you are working harder than the individual using? Or do you just keep at it? You mean me personally, when I'm working with someone? I will never work harder than the person who's using. If I'm trying to help somebody get sober, what I do is I put advice out. I will give somebody a roadmap to follow. I've been doing this now a really long time, and this is going to sound awful, but I don't waste any time. I don't have any time to waste. If I work with somebody and they are ready to go, when it's a cliche I will use 4 times a day, but when the student is ready, right, then the teacher appears. If I'm that guy, if you're ready, then you're going to do everything that I advise in some way or another. You may not follow it to the letter of the law, but you're going to take the things that I tell you are important, and you're going to do them. If you don't, I'm certainly not going to continue to push. And the reason is there's 20,000 people that would like me to give them some advice. My numbers are great because the people that get to me and are actually asking advice usually want to take that advice. So it's usually pretty easy for me to not have to try to chase people down. The exceptions to those rules would be people who are really close friends of mine. I've said in the past, if I thought a friend of mine was out of control, I would go to their house, right? I would go to help them that way. It's another thing I will never say again. It's not. Because number one, there are people I would do that for. There are people I would do that for against their will, but there are only a few of them, and they're usually family. I have friends right now that I care deeply for who are off in the weeds on drugs or alcohol, and there's nothing I can do to help them because they will refuse anything. They don't even want to talk to me. Nothing I can do in that situation. I'm not going to go kick people's doors in. I'm not a convict anymore. All I can do is reach out, right? That is literally all I can do is reach out. So I don't put more effort in than the people, and I know how difficult it is to get clean. But I'll tell you something. I'll match that crap. If there's somebody out there that really wants to get sober, there's not much I won't do. If they are making the effort, I will really go out of my way to make sure that I can do anything in my power to up the odds of their success. There's not much I want more than everybody that comes within this environment to reach whatever level of success it is. It may not have anything to do with sobriety, right? And this is not a sobriety channel. It isn't. I'm going to take a gummy in about 10 minutes. This is not a sobriety channel. It's a recovery channel, right? If you don't know the difference between sobriety and recovery, you can look up the definitions. they're clear cut and make a lot of sense to you. Jason P says, thoughts and prayers for any and all who need or want them. I love that. Really a good dude. Maureen Kinsey. My email is tommyscoville@gmail.com. Sometimes the response take a little bit. I would show you. Actually, you know what? I probably could show you out here, because here I don't care if anyone knows where I'm at. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, but I do tend to get a bit behind on emails. But fire one off, and I will. I do respond to all of them. Sometimes they take a minute, but yeah, tommyscoville@gmail.com. It's my name. Hill hath no fury says, Liz, you'll be in my thought. I know you. I absolutely know it. And you know something else? Today there was a memorial service for Tony, who was Natalie's significant other. I don't know them at all. I have never had a conversation with Natalie, and I never had a conversation with her husband. My heart goes out to her in ways I can't explain. I can't. Honestly, I can't imagine what it would be like to lose the person that you love. I can't. We talk about it here on the boat all the time, right? We put things on a perspective chart from a 1 to a 10. That's a 10, right? That's the kind of thing that is life changing, and it's the kind of trauma and loss that's just hard to speak on. But when you're on the big red button, if I do a video and I put her face up, and I would never do a tribute to somebody I didn't know. I think it's really low budget, because it looks like you're fishing for views, and that's not something that I'm ever going to do on someone's loss. I think that's skeezy as hell, and it's the reason that, like it or not, right? I don't take quibs over here very often on the boat. It does not happen very often, and one of the reasons has nothing to do with the audience of the lifeboat. I promise you, it doesn't. And, I've had people go, oh, it's because they doesn't want to anger. No. With all due respect, I wouldn't give a rat's can. Truthfully, if I think I'm putting up good content, I'm not letting anybody else tell me otherwise. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's that she's healing from a trauma that I don't intend to make $1 on. If I can bring her on here and talk about something that I think will be beneficial to the audience listening to it, and that I think it's going to be beneficial for Quibs to do and to do in that environment, I would do it. But I'm not going to try to cash in on it. And I think that when you're a YouTube creator, there is almost a subconscious pull to take advantage of situations and that I need to guard myself. I was a con man for a really long time. I need to guard myself. Doug, when we lost Doug, I knew Doug. Doug and I, that was a person I did know, but I didn't want to make a video about that until someone else did. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I did not want to be the first video up. I really didn't. I didn't feel like, I knew there were people that were a lot closer to Doug than I was, and it just felt skeezy. So my heart does go out to, I never want to look like a dirtbag for not putting up a video that says, hey, my heart goes out to you, but I don't know you. I would look more like a loser for putting up that video. But my heart does go out to Natalie, and my thoughts and prayers are with her. And you know what? When people lose loved ones, it's painful, And the fact is that we haven't met doesn't mean that we couldn't be fantastic friends. Who knows? But I've never met the person, and I always feel weird. It's a YouTube thing, and there's also an assumption, I think, especially within SBTV, that we all know one another, right? Like we've all probably spent a lot of time together, and the truth is, I don't really know most of the creators in SBTV. There's a couple I got to know pretty well. Obviously, I spent time with Aaron, and Quibs would probably be the two that I spent the most time with. But there's been many others. Yeah. But my heart does go out to him. Yes, Liz is having trouble. You know what, Rick Spicer, you're right. If we don't lift people up, who will? DJ Daddy-O, 19 months. You know what? I'm not shocked that you've been a member for 19 months. I'm just shocked that we've had memberships for 19 months. DJ Daddy-O has been there from the beginning. Admiral, thank you for sharing your vast knowledge through your life experiences. I love you, my brother. Much love, brother, and love to the crew. I really do care really deeply for DJ Daddy. He's a great, great human being and a good, solid dad, a good, solid person. If we had a lot more Americans like him, I think we'd be in great shape. Sorry. I think I missed something. Oh yeah. So the last thing is connection, people. And you know something? It is the fastest way to begin to heal, the fastest way to start setting goals and moving actually in the right direction, right? I thought you said that I had one. You're saying I am one. You are a transformative, inspirational cat. How many life chapters have you had? Well, I would say probably about 6 pretty distinct ones. Yeah, 6 pretty distinct ones, but they all ended the same way. You lost your squirrel. You lost the squirrel by your name. That's always kind of a sad thing. Can you hear squirrel? Hey, Crunch Girl. Boy, she is working those treats, man. She's really, really loud. Well, you're not going to see the cat in the basket because she's a lazy diva that's on the floor behind me just chowing down. Come here, squirrel. The people want to see you. She will come up if you call her, though. Come on. Where you at? There you are. I knew from your appearance. Look at this. This is a cat. This is a basket. What do you know? She actually did get it. She won't be in it for long. She's being a diva. All right, people. I am the Admiral. Tomorrow morning, we are going to be going a little early on Monday morning because I got some doctor stuff I got to do in the morning. So we're going to be firing up the boat at about 6:30 here on the West Coast, 6:30 a.m. It's going to be Scoville and Scoville, me and Spanky. All right? I will see you all tomorrow in the morning between now and then. I think I speak for all of us politely when I ask Squirrel to post in the basket. Well, you know something, people? The Squirrel Cam is back. Tomorrow, the Squirrel Cam will be in place, so you'll be able to see her as long as she's in the basket, right? We need connection, but how do we know who to trust? Well, I'll tell you something. It's good. I'll answer this before we go. What you do is you start to see how people act in their environment, right? Because if you're going to do this, you can actually do it quite safely if you do it online, because you can kind of be anonymous. You tell people only what you're willing to let them know until you get a really better idea of who they are. It's possible to use, names that aren't yours. You can do all kinds of things because you're building a group of people who you just want to start the concept of communicating with. Because when you begin to connect with one person, you will begin to connect with other people. And the habit of being a friend and the habit of exchanging information and the habit of saying, I don't feel good, I could use a little help, will become ingrained. But the way that I did it is I found the 5 people that I call my 5. I found them on the big red button. Yep. And it may seem really silly. You go, how do you trust people like that? I'm probably going to ask one of them to marry me. Right. I think that, my best friend I met on the big red button, the girl that I love, I met on the big red button. You can build relationships outside of here. We've got some other like little satellite ways to talk to people who are in this community. You can go over to the Lifeboat Facebook page, sign up over there. It's only people from the boat. It's not anybody can't go there. We have to accept you in. And you come in there and you start to do some private messages. You can read what people write in their posts. Take a couple of days, read all of the people's posts and go, you know what? This cat seems to be very similar to me, or this gal seems to be very similar to me, whatever the case may be. And I've done a few shows on this as well. If you go back, I think I've probably done 4 or 5 shows called How to Find Your 5 or something along those lines. Of course, there's a couple of thousand shows. Right? We've done a few of these. Yeah. If you took all of the time that you guys have watched The Lifeboat and ran it continuously, it would take 70 years. I actually looked that up today. It would take 70 years to watch all The Lifeboat. That makes me so happy I can't explain it. Now I really am going to leave. But boy, do I dig you guys. DJ Daddy-O is tossing out hot sauce packets 5 people just turned green. And you know something? Everybody looks better in green. I've always said that. You know something too? We're going to be doing, we're actually going to be doing a few things. This is really, this is a kind of a big deal. From the very beginning, it was impossible to do any of the things that we were really hoping to do with memberships. Spanx Calhoun doing what he's doing, I'm going to start putting together some group calls and some other things for the members. But we're going to start doing some very personal things that are going to give members, because we're never going to restrict anybody from listening to anything I say on the lifeboat, ever. That's a bad concept. However, members, we're going to give some access to the stuff that you don't see on the lifeboat, some inside stuff, some behind the scenes stuff, that kind of stuff, right? Look at the, at how I live, which is probably one of the most bizarre things in the world, but a day in the life kind of stuff, right? "70 years of content and the exact message meant for me made it to me. Imagine that." Did you just say imagine that? Jeff, E, keep coming back. Someday I want to tell you my imagine that story. Unfortunately, I'm literally out of time. But imagine that. Yeah, I say that a lot, my friend. And I always say it when it's not a coincidence. All right. People, between now and tomorrow morning, reach out and try to save somebody. Thank you. And because even though she's a diva, she's a consummate professional. That is a cat in a basket. What do you think? What a kitty. See you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.